So we're going to make some strawberry powder to start everything off. We're going to use our freeze-dried strawberries. I showed you this in a different video. Freeze-dried strawberries you can find at your big box store or even the dollar store. The big box store will also sell you these mini choppers like this. These are great for when you want to do powders like this, but you don't want to break out the food processor or blender. So we're just going to sift this, get the big chunks out like so, and then you can use just our fingertips to run the big chunks through and kind of just break those up into smaller pieces. Now for our dry ingredients, I've got 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm going to add a half a cup of sugar, a half teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking powder, and 3 tablespoons of the berry powder that we just made. Clumps up a little bit because of the moisture, but that's okay. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of lemon zest. I'm using Meyer lemon zest, but regular lemon is fine. We'll give that a good stir, and then because baking is 2 parts, we're going to get into our wet ingredients next. So we'll start with a cup of milk, 2% whole milk, whatever milk you want. A 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, not just vegetable oil, not olive oil, canola, nothing else. 1 large egg, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then we're going to give that a good stir. Start making sure that that egg is really emulsified in there, and then we'll add in about a cup and a half of chopped strawberries. Now, since reactions start as soon as the wet hits the dry, we'll do that now, and we'll just give this a good stir with just a rubber spatula. You don't need to whip it or beat it really hardcore. And your baking powder will start to activate now, and then it'll activate fully in the oven. So I've got these cool silicone, I highly recommend the silicone baking sheets and forms and bread molds and all these kinds of things. They're easy to clean, they're good and flexible, and nothing sticks to them. So you don't need to use a cooking spray or anything. You can just scoop these right in. Portion them out about 3/4 of the way full because they are going to rise. So 3/4 of the way should be plenty enough. And just fill each and every one of these cups. This is going to make exactly 12 muffins. No more, no less. Now depending on how brown you want these, you have about a 50-degree window. You want to bake these off between 375 and 425 for about 15 minutes or so, or until a toothpick goes in and comes out clean. I just give them a good dusting of powdered sugar, sliced strawberry for garnish, and that's ready to serve. We'll move on to a very basic bread pudding recipe. Feel free to pause the video here and just copy this. This is a very basic bread pudding recipe. Bread pudding is basically just a custard that you add bread to and then bake. If you don't know how to make the custard, don't worry, we're going to show you. I like bread pudding, but I also don't like bread pudding. Mostly because most places you go to get bread pudding, it turns out a little on the dry side, and they almost always put raisins in them. I'm not a big raisin fan. I have issues from where somebody gave me what I thought was a chocolate chip cookie and it turned out to be raisins. Anyway, so we're going to shortcut, kind of cheat this custard recipe. We're going to start off with the eggs and heavy cream, and then we're going to add in 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. And because we're using the sweetened condensed milk, it's going to keep the moisture level high in our bread pudding, and it's also going to let us use only a tablespoon of sugar. So again, this is a very basic recipe. I can go a million different ways with this. White chocolate, raspberry. Today we're going to brighten it up a little bit with some Meyer lemon zest, about a teaspoon and a half, just to kind of give this a little bit of a bright pop. And then of course with this liquid you really want to emulsify these eggs and get them really well incorporated. So beat it good. Probably beat it for, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. Just make sure they're really well incorporated. Now we're going to move on to our bread. I'm going to cube an entire loaf of brioche bread. Don't worry, brioche is pretty easy to find in your big name box stores now. Just be really careful. It's a very soft bread. You're definitely going to want a serrated bread knife for this, and don't push down super hard. Kind of let the knife do the cutting. Just let the weight of the knife pull it through the bread. Super soft bread. And once we've got these diced up, cubed, we're going to put them in a metal bowl, and we're going to give them our custard right over the top. We're going to make sure to toss these and get all of these cubes drenched with this custard. Brioche is a super soft bread. Like I said, it's a great bread for basic bread pudding. It's made with egg and milk in the dough. So it's, like I said, super soft, and it has a bit of a sweet taste to it, so it's a really great base for a bread pudding. Instead of putting this all into one ginormous pan, which you can put this into a bread pan or a baking dish and just bake it all at once. I'm going to separate it, and we're going to put it into these, obviously you can see these muffin pans, and we're going to fill these all the way to the top. Now, as you cook them, they will swell up, and you'll think that maybe you made a mistake, but don't worry. As soon as they come back out of the heat, they deflate, and you won't have any problems. So, super hot oven, 425 degrees for about 20 minutes to half an hour. Just keep your eye on them. You're looking for a good brownness. And don't waste this custard, man. Just scrape that bowl as good as you can. Clean up your edges, and in they go. Like I said, 20 minutes to half an hour. And while those are cooking, we will turn our attention to how we're going to top these. And we're going to top them with some macerated strawberries. So we're starting off with a pound of strawberries that I just hand sliced. Get nice big chunks like that. Just hand sliced with a paring knife. And we're going to go in with 1/3 cup of sugar. Now the sugar is probably the most important ingredient in this little recipe here. It's going to help draw the moisture out of the strawberries and give this syrup a sweetening, because that's basically what's going to happen. We're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla, a teaspoon of lemon juice to brighten everything up, and then we're going to use 2 tablespoons of whatever sweet white wine you like to drink. This is a Moscato, but feel free to use a Riesling or just any kind of a sweet dessert wine. Give that a good toss. Make sure that sugar gets everywhere, because like I said, sugar, salt, they kind of do the same thing in recipes, except one adds sweetness, one adds savory. They both contradict bitter, and they both act as preservatives by drawing moisture out of the things that they're sprinkled on. So we're going to pull this moisture right out of these strawberries, and it's going to combine with our other ingredients and just make a really, really rich syrup. So just give these a toss and let them sit for at least an hour before you use them. After about 21 minutes, my muffins are very well done. They're still wibbly wobbly, so I know they've got some moisture in them. They're really nice brown. If I let these go any farther, they'll get a little scorched on the edges, and I'm not looking for that. Here's the great thing about these silicone: nothing sticks to them, so you can just turn that cup inside out and that muffin pops right out. For plating, real simple. Get a nice bowl, dead center. In comes our macerated strawberries. Don't be shy with the juice from those. That's gonna help to bring a lot of flavor to that muffin. And then just a little bit of whipped cream, and she's ready to go. You could also use some berry powder and dust this as well, or powdered sugar. Either one would be fine. And that's ready to go. Big crowd pleaser. You're gonna make a lot of people happy with this one. And that's it for this one. You guys know the deal. Show us some love. Hit those buttons, like, share, subscribe. Hit that bell icon. We'll see you again soon.